Assalamu alaikum everyone. Just wanted to make a quick video on some topics that don't get talked about in our community at large, and I can only go by my own experience. These topics that I talk about now were something that I usually avoided. I didn't even seek this kind of information out. But once I was almost, I was basically forced to ask these questions to myself. Like, what? So what the question for this session is, what part of you are you led by? So I can only talk from my experience. What part in my past, the part of me that did things consciously, unconsciously, made decisions, what to eat, who to spend my time with, how to physically be, in what state to be in. Where did that thought come from? Where did that understanding come from? And until I answered this question, that it was actually all the things I was doing was coming from the physical attachment. Coming from the physical, meaning that if I wear this kind of clothes, then I will be accepted by these friends, or I'll be seen in society as a certain certain rank. These are decisions that we make subconsciously, but it is based on our ego, based on the nafs. So all my decisions were coming from the root of the nafs only. And what is the nafs? We understand the nafs is the physical, which is the illusion. The nafs is the shell. It is the shell that grows, and then, like a shell of any plant is supposed to protect the seed. The shell falls, it stays strong and protects the seed, and as the seasons change and erosion happens, that shell gets harder, but then it cracks, and all of a sudden the seed now has light penetrating the shell, and the shell breaks away, and the plant grows into a tree, and the tree has other shells, seeds, and they fall on the ground, and the cycle continues. But imagine if the shell, which is the nafs, didn't want to let go of the shell, of its attachment to the physical. Because we have been led so far away from the non-physical. We look at the world as a physical, like a real thing, but it is an illusion. It's talked about in every culture, in every religion, that this is dunya is an illusion. It's a journey. It's a maya. It's the deceiver, and it's the physical senses. It is a deceiver, but we live here, and we have to witness it. So knowing this information, how is it going to help, right? Well, when you understand that reality is an illusion, then why do you fear something? Why do you fear going after your passion, project, and you fear that if it's not going to do good, and then this and that, you shouldn't fear. See, people that go after their passion, they do it despite their fear. It's okay to have fear. It's natural to have fear, but do not stay in that fear, because staying in that fear and operating from that, led by the fear, led by the jealousy, led by the anger, led by the wanting to be like somebody else, led by that is basically giving your power to the illusion and saying that it is real, and you get me to the place I want to be. But everything's an illusion at that level. But to change that, you have to go into you have to understand that it's an illusion and why it's an illusion. And when you see it's an illusion, then you're not going to fall for the tricks that tie your nafs at a lower level. You will start to have insight. You have to start making your body the receptacle, the vessel that witnesses higher states of consciousness. So, for example, if you have have a really poor diet, okay, I always go back to this because your body is the vessel that witnesses the pleasures and the vessel is the frequency, the vibration state of which it even comprehends the Creator. So if your vessel is in a lower state of vibration, you get frustrated because of poor health issues, and you're worried about your health, and you look at other people with resentment, and you get kind of like that feeling of like, oh, I should have done this. Oh, how come I'm like this? How come my health is bad and this and that? When you look at that, then it limits you. And that same vessel is trying to get closer to the Creator. It can only go to a certain level. To go to a higher level, it has to shed the baggage. It has to shed certain vibration states, certain things that it's attached to, that it's holding on to, because at that higher consciousness level, those things cannot go up there. You cannot go together with that. You cannot take resentment and hate or jealousy. And it's like you have to purify yourself. That's why in all the traditions, to make it to before you go to heaven, your heart must be purified. That's why the Prophet's heart was purified. Symbolically, it was purified in Zamzam. Okay, yes, it has electrolytes and all that stuff, and it does something to you physically, electrolytes and cleaning the heart. When you do heart surgery, they dip it in electrolytes and all that stuff. That's true, but it's like, let's not get stuck on the physical only. It is a metaphysical meaning too, to purify your heart. And the only way you can purify it at that level is internal purification, forgiveness, gratitude, real compassion, real love, not I love you because you love me, or I love you because you make me feel good, or you do what I say, so I love you. But it's like the real test is if that person that you say is doing something that you don't agree with, do you still love them? Or is your love diminished because, they're not agreeing with you? Anyway, so it's a purification process. And to get to that higher state of consciousness, you have to purify your heart. And when you go up that route and you are led by the soul, which is attached to the Creator, then it's like the byproduct is everything the nafs, everything the ego wanted. Anyways, the byproduct is, security. The byproduct is the dunya. The byproduct is the dunya. That's it. See, instead of so we separate spirituality and like the physical, and we make it two different things. So we attach spirituality to everything we do. See, we go in the car, we attach spirituality to it by saying a dua. Okay, now spirituality is plugged in. Now you can have a safe travel because you have Allah with you. Like He wasn't with you before, Like, I'm not going to say He, but the Creator wasn't with you before. No, that's ridiculous. So when you come to the understanding that everything is spiritual, but you attach dunya to it as a byproduct. So it's a different kind of leading, right? Imagine like being led by something, and that thing that's the soul, and it's like attached to the dunya, and it's pulling the dunya along with it. As the soul is rising, it's pulling the dunya with it, but you cannot take with you to heaven, to Jannah, unpure things. You have to be purified by the fire. right? It says that everybody is going to taste the fire. And you have to do like a accounting, atonement beforehand. We think there's like actually line, and I imagine that like a queue, like you go to the like you go to this jury duty or something like that, and you're in court and you have to wait in line, and it's like we think of it like that because it's an abstract concept. It's a metaphor that we took at a literal understanding because we are led by the dunya only. That's what I'm saying. I'm not anymore, but it took a lot of effort, and anyone can do it. This is what it is. That's the journey, is to take that, what leads you, and detach from it, and place that will, that real certainty in the unseen, in the Creator, and the byproduct is the dunya. And the thing is, we look at things so physically that we lose the metaphorical interpretation of it. And metaphors make abstract, like abstract stories, more tangible for us to understand. So I'll give you an example. I said this before, like in the time of the Prophet, he would give like talks, and talk to his companions and stuff, and talk about like woke talk. They didn't talk about like useless things, like, yeah, maybe chit chat, like, oh yeah, you guys raced, okay, who won? Okay, oh, he's a really good racer. Oh, he's really disciplined and he eats good. And then see how that conversation is, instead of like talking about sports and who won and the stats, oh, who gets this trade and that trade, and oh my God, we got this person now, and no, I feel so good now. Instead of like just focusing on the physical, they're like, okay, you know what? He got traded, blah blah. Oh, you know what? That he meditates in the morning, and all these good practices that get him to that level. We don't talk about those things because it's below the surface, and we are afraid of what we can't see. We're afraid of that which is in the dark. We're afraid of that aspect of reality. But the dark aspect of reality makes what is in the light. From darkness comes light. Ask any physicist, ask anybody. What you see in the light spectrum, it's only 0.04%. In the light spectrum, the spectrum of light, it's like, okay, from here to here, there's all the spectrum. We only see a little, not even 1%. Not even 1% of that is what we see, what we can touch and see. The rest of it is unseen light, unseen energy. That which makes the seen, okay? But when you understand that, and you're not going to be led by the false. You can be led by only only through your own light. To find your own light, to find your soul, you have to go in the darkness. So you go in the darkness, and you find that nur, and you. It's not like you find it, then all of a sudden you bring it out, and you're like this person that is being led by the nur, and this. No, that nur is it's a very dim light, because we have made it so dim through our attachment to things throughout all our life. So that light, that nur, you have to harness it by practices, like you have to do dhikr, dhikr, get in a state of vibration, get in a when you say these certain words, when you say the names of Allah, it is a certain frequency, it is a certain wavelength, and it unlocks certain aspects within, because it is literally light. See, it's darkness. See, you can't see it when I say things. When I say like certain names, in certain frequencies and stuff, when it's chanted in certain frequencies, that's why the people in the time of the Prophet, when they would be told, like, hey, when you walk past these Muslims and they're praying, then you put your fingers in your ears, because even those people that weren't believers, they still understood the power of words and frequency. They understood this stuff. This is alchemy. They knew this. they had a different society. We think of them as backwards. Actually, they weren't, because people were more intuitive. They can sense things better. Assalamu alaikum, Saad. I loved your talk about the stars, and the celestial. I listened to that one, and it's really interesting. And you you uh, you hit upon something that like I studied for a long time, and it's really it gets into really some really deep stuff. But I don't have time for that here right now. But we should talk about that one day. About the different celestial and the interpretation of it and stuff like that. So yeah, I was saying that the light, we have to harness it, and we have to basically, when you have a little bit of light, you're gonna protect that light. So when you find it all like in a beaten up state, okay, when you find it in a beaten up, like a very low state, you find it, you're like, oh my gosh, I meditated, I got to some place I've never been to in my life, and I know it's not haram. I know it's like something special. It's like, wow, I was just detached from the physical, the ego, the nafs, but in a pure state. It's like, okay, you know what? That I'm gonna bring back that knowledge where I've been in my mind, and that feeling. I bring it back to my physical self, but now I have that understanding that, okay, I've been there before. Now how do I get into that state pretty much all the time? Which is, it's very difficult. I'm not saying I do. I'm saying is, how do you take that newer, and now you see with that, I want to make that newer my primary source of light instead of this false light, because there's a lot of false light. That's why you have to go within, and that's why you have to, kind of stop doing those things that you were doing before. And this means you have to level up, and when you level up, you have to level up not led by the dunya, actually. It's level up in a spiritual sense. And then you take that light, that nur of yours, and you harness it. You get, what happens is once you see that light, you don't think you're going to be tested. This is what it says. It's like you're going to be tested, as in like you will be put in situations where, okay, that old life is going to crumble down, because now you have a little bit of light. You can see a lot more than what you used to. You were in total darkness before. Now you have a little bit of light, your own light, and what you can see, it's like you see the falsehood of it. So you have a decision to make. Are you going to continue on that, or are you going to you're going to discard that aspect of you and those friends or whatnot? And that's what you get tested with. It takes courage to stand up to friends that you've been around for a long time that backbite, and you were participating in that, and you kind of, you're the kind of person that's like, you don't actively backbite, but you're just, okay, haha, it's not really funny, because you've been bullied maybe, because I have, and I don't make fun of people, and even when people were backbiting, I wouldn't fall into that like crowd, and and the thing was, if I did talk bad about somebody, it would really, I'd feel guilty about it, and I would go outside my way to like be friendlier with that person. But thank God, that I wasn't that kind of person, and maybe that's why, it takes courage. It takes courage to tell your friends, hey, why are you guys talking about these people? They're good. Well, you shouldn't backbite. That takes courage to stand up to somebody. Not just for tyrants. But these are the things. I mean, we think that we can only. It's only takes courage to stand to tyrants and leaders. No, it takes courage to stand up to your friends, even. Even to yourself. Like, what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't want to be this kind of Muslim. I don't want to. It's like, ask yourself, what kind of Muslim are you? What kind of Muslim? Yes, you're Muslim. You pray. You do these basic things. Which is, but it's like, what are you led by? Are you led by greed? Are you led by a bunch of things like, I want status, I want this, I want money, I want comfort? I do. But if you let those things drive you, then you're only driven by the 0.04% of the light spectrum. And that's it. and everybody else is light. What everybody else put on that, you know, it's not you. It's not your own nur. It's not your own like energy. You know, it's somebody else's, and it's like it's for a certain reason. So yeah, that this is you got to know what you're led by, and you know, it's about time we talk about this kind of stuff because you know, science and spirituality, it's the same thing. It's just that science per se, they don't attach a higher a being to it. You know, they don't understand. They don't attach a consciousness or a creator or a God. You know, they don't. They fall short of saying that. But those people that actually are in the know, they know. They know. I mean, they understand that there is only one creator, but that one creator, there's only one. You know, there's nothing outside of the creator. That's another concept we, as Muslims, we do not talk about. We don't talk about this because we've been told, like, not to, you know? It's like, it's very uncomfortable for people to realize that they are a vessel and they are, and they basically, it's very difficult for people to admit that they cause these problems in their life. You know, their health problems, their whatever chronic problem they have, it's not from anything except what you did. You know, it wasn't, you know, the shaitan didn't do it. You know, these people didn't make you do it. Okay, and it's like, then, you know, we can talk about so many things. You know, a lot of people are led by their stomach, you know? They're led by their stomach flora. They're led by their gut bacteria. And if your gut bacteria is all the harmful type that lives in like, you know, high sugar diets and like your flora is like all messed up, you know, you are, those cravings, because those bacteria want to live too, those parasites and worms, they want to live. So they're going to crave what allows them to live through you. And then you're going to crave that. You know, this is the real stuff. That's an energy and vibration too. They could be lower entities. How do you think jinns eat? Right? If these energies that are low energy and smokeless fire, they need to live too, right? That's why they can't eat when you say Bismillah and you eat. And you say Bismillah and you eat, and you're proper about it, they cannot survive. Because when you say Bismillah, you're attaching a frequency, a vibration, something literally in the unseen on a piece of food that you see that physical aspect, but there's 99.96% you don't see. So you're attaching Bismillah to it, and they cannot eat that because it's, by saying Bismillah to it, it puts it in a out of reach dimension, you know, and these lower things cannot survive it, you know. But the thing is, like, it's almost like you have to become like a person that basically, like, your jinn is going to become like better, you know. That's your shadow self. It becomes actually better, you know, and it you know, you change its habits so much that, you know, now it can survive, but at a higher level, you know. And there are Muslim jinns, aren't there? You know, there's Muslim jinns. But yeah, I just wanted to talk, you know, and express all these things that I have inside that I can't really communicate with people here, because it's really a very off the wall topic. It is not really understood much because we have, like, we avoided these kind of questions of spirituality. We have avoided them, and you can't avoid it anymore. Look, there's suicide in our communities. There's, like, bad health, you know. There's lack of leadership. You know, how can you have leaders if leaders come from, if you're a leader for yourself, if you can lead, as in like a leader is somebody that is in the forefront of, you know, of things, of they're always striving for something else. You know, they're in the forefront of society. These are leaders. You know, everybody wants to be a leader, but leader, you have to be a leader for yourself first. You know, if XYZ is not good for you, and you do these things, then how can you be a good leader? You know, and how can you teach leadership skills to the youth? You can't. You can't. And this is what's lacking. It's tough. You know, it is tough because we live in a time now where the chicken has come home to roost, as in even for ourselves. You know, now we might be, you know, in our 20s and, you know, in our 20s and 30s. You know, you could have, you know, until you're like 33 years old, you could have gotten away with, you know, staying out late and eating this fast food and stuff. And then when you get to like 33, 34, 35, that lifestyle plays a quantum toll on you. It gets heavier. You know, your health. It disintegrates in a faster way. And then by the time you're 40 years old, and if you didn't change your habits, man, you are really harming yourself physically and mentally and emotionally, because you get set in your ways. Remember that shell, the shell I'm talking about? That shell begins to harden so much that it takes a lot more effort to break that shell so the seed inside can sprout. That shell gets too hard because adversity and struggles are meant for you to let go of those things that caused you harm. You know, when we have struggles in our life, you know, a lot of us, we don't associate it with, you know, yeah, we do. It's like, oh, I'm being punished for something, you know, but it's like, but when you always do things with guilt, like people will feel guilty by, you know, eating some fast food. I mean, this is one level, you know. Some people feel guilty for, you know, going on like adult sites on porn, you know. It carries a guilt with you, you know. But the thing is, like, for example, like say you're supposed to be on a diet, right? And you eat some fast food, and you at the time you're like, okay, it makes you feel good, but then you feel guilty. Okay, you feel guilty. You feel like you can't handle yourself, and in that feeling state of guilt, you're making decisions of life. So you made yourself in a vibrational state of guilt, and when you are at that level, then you get more things that happen to you, and you slip up more, and you slip up more, and you basically label yourself as somebody that can't do it. Oh, these diets don't work on me, and oh, they're not for me, and no, it's a bunch of crap, and no, these are you know, it's like it starts to self-sabotage you, because it's like that energy, that version of you cannot live without it being guilty. And to go to the next level, you have to drop the guilt. You have to understand that, you know what, you ate this food and you shouldn't have, okay, but what were the circumstances around it? You know, did you start hanging out with these people again? Did you go to do certain things that triggered you to want to eat? Did you maybe just get off the phone in an angry way with your wife? You know, or did you just got told to work extra 2-3 hours, or got told that you have to work on Saturday, and then all of a sudden you had to eat because you got scared? You know, it's like you have to find these things out in yourself, and then once you see where that thought and those triggers are coming from that lead you to do these things that self-sabotage you, no matter what it is, from eating poorly to, going to the bar. I don't know. There's people like that, There's triggers, And it's like, you don't know what's happening behind the doors, but the thing is, the truth is coming out. It's coming out in people's health. It's coming out in people's aggression in the way they drive. It's coming out in your work life. It's coming out in family. And in our Muslim community, it's coming out, and it's coming, since we have security, that root security of like where I'm going to live and that stuff, it's pretty much taken care of. So it comes out in like sexual things. Like it comes out in it comes out in a lack of like okay, I'm gonna get personal here. I mean, not personal with me, but like personal as in like the topic. So when you have your needs are met, like you're not going to be hungry tonight, you know where you're going to eat this month, you have food, you have shelter, everything is good, you have the internet, and it's like you're not wanting a Ferrari, you're not wanting these things, but there's something else going on, like for example, maybe your creative juices aren't flowing. Okay, and you have the energy. Maybe you had a passion that you stopped doing. You stopped writing your own code. You stopped drawing. You stopped. In my sense, I stopped doing like YouTube videos. I used to do YouTube videos in like 2000 and like 7. And I watch them, and I'm like, wow, that's like, I was pretty like hilarious, and like then in like 2011, it's 7, 8, 9, 10. I was doing them like pretty so often, like it took a lot of effort for me to do it. Like I would look forward to doing these videos on the weekend, and it would take me a long time, and my wife would be like, I'd be up all night editing it, and like I had so much fun with it, and it's like I'm just doing it for myself, and I like the process. But then like later on, fast forward, like business, I had to do work, and like I just the business was like it was doing good, but like I wanted to make more money, and all that stuff happened, and like I was getting more unhealthy and more cynical, and like I stopped doing my passion. I stopped it. See, now that energy of like where I was putting my passion and my high energy into, it has to go somewhere. So I started eating more, I started smoking cigarettes, I started hanging out with the wrong people, because that energy was being replaced, see? Now I was giving my energy to, FIFA instead of like Adobe, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. And it's like, until I found out, it's like you see it's happening in our communities, because they have this passion, but now they're not putting their energy into, they're not even like a lot of our, there's no like sexual attraction anymore with the, people married, and that causes problems, and then they're like, they have no more passion anymore, and it comes out in eating, it comes out in food, it comes out in addictions and self-sabotaging behavior, doing things that don't allow you to grow. And it's coming out in our community. You can see it in people. Come on. I mean, that's not a lie. I mean, it's not, we want to be like the Sahabas and all that. They weren't in our mental state, but they were worse at one point, right? They were all worse at one point. They buried their daughters alive. Which ones of you would do that? I wouldn't do that, but some of these people did. And if they can make it out of that kind of hole and transform their life, then of course we can. It's just a lot easier for us, But we don't have to take it to that extreme either, You know, Okay, so I gotta pray Isha, and yeah, I'm at the masjid actually, doing some work. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about this kind of stuff a lot more. And if you like what I talked about, please comment. Please make it interactive, share, and let me know what I should talk about next. Okay, and I will put that. I'll ask you to do some research. I'll put some effort into it, and I'll see you next time. All right, Assalamu alaikum.